September, Earth, Wind, and Fire, hot pants, by James, slides don't take you higher, minor keys and drugs, make a real estate jam. Take your pick, turntable, or a band. Lord, if it ain't Chuck D, Jam Master, you know what? They losing, cause we got a PhD in advanced body movement. Keep the body moving, just like I told you. Kick the old school joint for the true funk soldiers. Musicology. Alright. Hold it down, band. Get back. Move, get back. Don't you touch the stereo. These are my records.
Don't stop dancing.
Right on the bed, all the way from Korea. That's what I'm talking about. Keep the old school joints. Musicology for the true funk soldiers. Good God. All right, on the one, y'all. Don't you hear this old school joint? Don't you ever touch my stereo.
We
Who's
won
that?
an
I
award,
got good and
and
plenty
they're accepting the award
of
on
what
what
you
have
need the most.
Small schools, big schools. So they're there receiving the award, and they should be because of the difference in the time during a presentation now. And we hope that they'll come back and share that information with us. And then we have 12 administrators that are on vacation. So they're not here with us this
Rocking you coast to coast.
evening. And even
Hips
though
and lips,
I'm
chips
not
and
sure
whips.
of
Children go where I send thee.
We're now in what I notified you as Camp Davis. I invite you to visit, and that is that Mr. Walzak, who's sitting in the back in his wisdom, has the education of the sophomore.
Children go where I send thee.
Performing our service. You're an educator, you're in the field house, and we'll be there for the next 2 weeks. So that's where we are, July 15th through the 25th. July 29th, this room will be organized and
Children go where I send
if you're familiar with 162, I invite you to go back years and years ago. Remember when we used to go to Oak Brook, and we would take the board, we would invite the unions for a day or two, and that's where we had our presentations. And so, for the past,
born in Bethlehem.
you don't have to give money to
Children
anyone.
go where I send thee.
Southland.
Send me.
So our retreat, which is on your agenda, July 29th through the 2nd, the only cost that we have would be any speakers and for food. So we're actually happy about that. Not that we didn't like the Oak Brook Center. However,
Born in Bethlehem. Children go where I send thee.
happy also that all of our police chiefs or their representatives will be with us during the retreat as we present the emergency plan and answer any questions that they might have. Sometimes also they have information about what's going on in the community that we may not be privy to.
Born in Bethlehem, children go where I send send me.
I think that they think sometimes we're a little naive. We're actually not. But we do learn from them, and so we will be on retreat here in the annex from up until August 2nd. The next board meeting is August 20th, and then our big day, August 22nd, we open. And for the benefit of the board and for anyone who wants to think, I remember years ago when I went in education,
Go where I send
that we have, that we're able to just vacation. What we did, we were down for 2 days, then we went into summer school, and then from there we're preparing to go. So there is no long 2 months where we're doing anything. On August 22nd, I'm excited about it. I hope parents are also. We're streaming. Parents, it's time that you receive the list of supplies from the school. It's time to get those new gym shoes and prepare to come back to school, because the school year 24-25 is going to be our final hour. That concludes the announcements, Mr.
born in Bethlehem.
Audience to visitors. Is there any member of the audience who cares
Try to think that love's not around, still it's uncomfortably near. My poor heart ain't gaining any ground, because my angel eyes ain't here. Angel eyes, that old devil sin, they grow unbearably bright. Guess I needn't tell you, my love has been misspent with angel eyes tonight. So drink up, all of you people. Got to run. The facts uncommonly clear. I've got to find out who's now the number one, and why my angel eyes ain't here.
And we see it in families, because this is a family district, and if children are absent from the Madison, sometimes we see the same families that are absent from the Sauk and the Huth. And so Dr. Morgan has a plan, and it does, of course, involve visiting homes, but talking to parents from an educational perspective. Every day that you miss something, you cannot expect that the teacher will have enough time to go back over that subject. This is information that the child needs that may not be ever presented at another time. So everyone has to concentrate on the same thing, which is school is of paramount importance, and we need every child every day. So thank you, Mr. Morgan. And then, Mr. Hall, we are bringing 2 policies. If we could review that briefly, then I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
I think as we discussed in first reading of these policies, there are 2, and both of them are governed by new laws that were enacted by the legislature in the most recent legislative year. The first is our revised bullying policy, and it does a couple of things. First of all, the new law requires that all districts within Illinois must follow the model policy that, as part of the law, the Illinois State Board of Education has put out. And so our policy in its renewed form follows the model policy that is being put out last January. So that's the biggest change. Secondly, the new law requires that within 24 hours, the district will let any parents of students involved in bullying know about the incident. That's pursuant to the law. So our policy now states that Dr. Davis and her administrative team within 24 hours will be notifying parents if there's an allegation of bullying, and of course what steps are being taken by the district in order to address that bullying. The third thing, there are some additional categories of types of students or actions that the law actually recognizes as things that can be a reason for bullying. It's been expanded to include additional categories of unlawful conduct, including bullying based upon physical appearance, socioeconomic status, academic status, pregnancy, parenting status, and homelessness. And so those are the revisions to our bullying policy that I wanted to bring to your attention. Secondly, we have a brand new policy pursuant to Illinois law, which now requires that each district within Illinois must have a policy regarding discrimination and harassment on the basis of race, color, and national origin, of course prohibiting that type of conduct. Included within our policy as required by the law is that there are descriptions of various forms of discrimination and harassment based on race, color, and national origin, including examples. Some examples that were provided in our policy would be if there would be different treatment of students on those bases with regard to the classes that they'd be enrolled in, to the honors type of classes, or if there would be punishment or discipline against students based on those inappropriate categories. Those are the types of examples that we included in the policy. The policy, as required by law, also recognizes that it is prohibited to retaliate against anybody for making a complaint that policy has been violated. It also outlines legal recourses that are available through the Department of Human Rights and through federal agencies if our school district would fail to take corrective action against such inappropriate conduct. And also, as required by law, it gives directions on how to contact those entities, both by email or by phone, if that would be the preference of the people who believe that there has been a violation of the policy. Are there any questions regarding the policies or the requirements of the law?
Mr. President, I do have a question. Just two thoughts. Are the policies, I know they're usually made available in the handbook. Are they also going to be on the district website?
Yes, we will put them on the website, and also we do include the handbook on the website also. So by putting our handbook up, then everything that's in the handbook is available to people who might not have it at their fingertips, so that they can look at it on the website also.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Hall? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have just closed our summer stream program and our mandatory summer school. I would say that we had 610 happy children in summer stream, and then we had the children that were in mandatory summer school that did not do what they were supposed to do in the regular school year. I don't know about their level of happiness, but we were extremely satisfied with what went on in the summer stream. What we look at in terms of summer is the education of students in a variety of ways, but we also allow our teachers to help us in the planning. And you'd be surprised, teachers do some very, very unusual things. We reached out to our parents. We do have a parent that is Japanese, and she spends her summers, as long as I have known her, in Japan. She had 2 children to come through our district. But the question that we wanted her to address is, what is the culture, the Asian culture like? We don't really know. We watch television. We think that perhaps we know. And then she did teach some rudimentary Japanese also. I thought it was interesting that in our high school, she requested that her 2 children take the advanced placement test in Japanese, and the state board said no. And so then we appealed it, obviously. And so they called me and they said, Dr. Davis, it would be very difficult for these 2 children to pass the exam. And I asked them why. And they said, generally, students who are not Asian, it's almost an impossibility, because you're talking about the spoken word as well as the written word. And I told them, but they are. And they said, would you please look at your racial designation of these children? So I went back to them, and I won't mention their names here, but I said, why do you have down that you're African American? They said, well, everybody else did, so we did too. But anyway, the good news is they did take advanced placement. They both got a 5 on advanced placement classes. But within the summer program, children were able to learn more about the Asian culture. We included technology. We own drones, music, band, etc. So it was learning in a less structured way. But our parents, over 600 of them, and of course, after we closed enrollment due to the fact that we, in case no one knows, we have a lot of construction going on in our buildings. So we weren't able to use all 8 buildings, but extremely successful. And Mr. Baer, if we could we have maybe 3 minutes of looking at children's faces, because nothing is more important to us than their faces. And we do apologize. We're not in our boardroom. You would not have to turn around, but we're in the annex, and so we are a little bit more flexible.
This summer, 369 stars of Matson School District 162 had a blast at Illinois School, improving their skills in science, technology, reading, engineering, the arts, and mathematics in grades kindergarten through 7th grade. Soared to new heights, learned together, and shared smiles. Tuesday, July 9th, our community came together as we demonstrated and shared all that we accomplished.
What about those phrases? Now, there is a 30-minute video of our summer stream program that we'll place on our YouTube channel. I didn't think that we wanted to do 30 minutes of it, but the most important thing to me is learning and feeling happy and just a sense of well-being, and that's what happened this summer. It was a wonderful summer. And thank you, the few educators that are here and not on vacation. Thank you also. It was a beautiful, beautiful summer. But I do have a request of all parents. We have now, since COVID, gone to online registration. And if you would believe it, Dr. Leatherwood, 824 parents have registered. However, since we are streaming, we're actually 2,450. So 824 of you have registered already, and we need 2,450. So we are going to put out again our robocall. We do have on our line, on our website, how to do video, but one of the things that Mr. Englert does not want us to do, and Mr. Talley, we could go old school again. Remember, we always had registration in our commons, and you went from one table to the other, and when you finished, so we're going to wait another 2 weeks, and then old school is out there calling. But everyone has an iPhone. You can register on your iPhone, and that's what we hope that you will do. But look at that, 824 out of almost 2,500. So that's a request. Please, please help us. But we do have the head of our buildings and grounds, and he's very seldom with us. Today I saw him more than I've seen him in a long time on the roof next door, I don't know how many times. I think that's a fascinating process. But Mark Walczak, years and years ago, used to be with Airmark, and I'll just say boo. And then he saw the error of his ways, and he agreed that we could have a discussion with Airmark, and he would come with us. Possibly you're aware, but perhaps not. Mr. Walczak has been responsible for building an addition on every one of our buildings. It was his concept to redesign what used to be preferred Prudential Life, our field house, this building, which was a skating rink, and you wouldn't know it anymore. And so I do thank you sincerely, Mr. Walczak, for everything that you've done for us. However, the reason that he's here tonight is to give a more sophisticated presentation of actually what's going on structurally at the buildings. When you ask me, and Mrs. Ware, who's not here, said, Dr. Davis, everything is going good. And I thought, okay, we need Mr. Walczak. We need more than that. But today it was fascinating, Mr. Walczak, as I watched them lift old air conditioners that were 40 to 50,000 pounds off of that roof with just a small wire, or it seemed to me. So, well, how are we doing, Mr. Walzat?
We're actually doing really good. As Dr. Davis knows, I'm always a family figure out, and I'll be that way until the end of the summer. The couple of areas of concern that I do have is rooftop mount, which nobody knows what that is, but that's the rooftop air conditioning for the North Gym. We had some issues, with that. We expect to be done before school. It's just not what we anticipated. The only other area I think of concern right now is probably in the library. Where I didn't know when we pulled the carpet out that there was 99 tile underneath it and you couldn't see. So we lost 2 weeks there. Does not mean we're not going to open on that. But reorganize, and we'll go forward. But I think, as Doc said, the last couple of days have been very fun. I don't know if anybody's ever driven by and noticed we've had crane up there. I don't know what we have now. I'm going to try and talk loud so I can turn around and look and see what Dave has. I was very blessed, or not blessed, I guess. I was blessed to have Dave.
You can take the microphone off.
I will. But I haven't seen a presentation yet, so I'm seeing it for the first time as well, because I was on the road until 5 o'clock and ran home, took a shower, and went from there. What you got on the screen now is actually Arcadia Gym. This is part of the rooftop unit replacement for our gym that we rooms. We're going to air conditioning gyms. That's all on time, on track. We're scheduled to start up the 24th, which is middle of next week. But everything's on track so far. Huth carpet, I mean, everybody's looking at it. We tried something new. And I'm a bit old school. I like, just a floor with a solid border. You've seen it everywhere I've ever worked. I tried to stay out of the carpet this year and told the designers I want something fresh, something new. Which brings us to this pattern that we have. It's a little bit different. In front of each classroom, there's a different color, which typically would have been a border, but it's more of a model pattern, depending on where you're at, how many doors it is, and things like that. Just something different we thought we would try. The picture on the right is actually the courtyard. Hard to tell what we did there, but all the windows and the doors and stuff, those were all replaced. Actually, very nice. The ones at the end of that picture, you could actually see through them before. The holes had gotten through it. More Huth. The biggest problem Huth had over the years was it only had 2 air conditioners for the whole 400 wing, the media center, and the 2 small, actually the 3 small offices up front, not the main offices, but the 2 AP offices across the hall. We've actually done 6 up there now, so we don't have to depend on. They were trying to do the whole building or that whole section with 1 unit and just use dampers to force air from one place to another. It doesn't work. It works on paper. So now hopefully we get better control. These are actually pictures of the windows after we took them out. We haven't put the new ones in yet. The one on the left, one on the right, you can see the new ones put in. Those are the science lab on the right, and you can see at the end we have the windows out but not in yet. This is from inside the science lab. This showing the windows again. We haven't fixed the radiant heat or anything yet, but we will. And the picture on the right is just another view of the same windows. Science labs. Oh, this is the infamous project next door. Nothing's ever as easy as just replacing the air conditioner. It affects the exhaust and everything for the art rooms, the science rooms, et cetera, et cetera. So we have the science labs are all torn up right now. We're redoing the ventilation for 4 different classrooms. This is actually kind of fun. It's my favorite. You see the small cable that Dr. Davis had mentioned. It's a 500-ton crane. That thing will lift 500 tons. Yeah, off a single cable. It's kind of amazing. The unit right there that they're picking up now, there's 2 of them up there. There's a total of 4, but it's a little over 18,000 pounds. I think it's 18,766, whatever. And there's 2 of those plus 2 ARVs, which are, I don't know what the weight is on the ARVs, but I would venture to say they're probably 3,000 to 4,000 pounds a piece. These will come down. New ones are, we set the new ones, actually, we just literally just set them today. You can see on the bottom left of the screen, everything's obviously stays around the crane, but these are the 2 new units. Slightly heavier, slightly bigger. We did do a little bit of structural work over there. It's not necessarily that there's an issue with the weight, it's just the weight's in different locations, so you change the reinforcing of the building.
That looks good.
I still think that's fascinating, Mr. Wells. The wire seems so thin, but it's still holding. But I do compliment the man that's operating the crane.
Yes,
it's a science.
My goodness.
Well, the interesting part, anybody's ever gone past a job site where they've been using cranes, that operator rarely sees where he's going. There's usually 1 or 2 guys standing on the edge that are giving him hand signals. In this case, because of the depth of the building, we're actually relaying from a radio. So there's 3 people relaying it. That guy in the cab sees nothing.
Wow. Fascinating.
Teamwork.
Yeah. For so many reasons.
And for those that say I never worked, it's actually me down there pushing it.
Very good.
I don't know how long this video is, but you're going to see in a minute. We're going to lift that back up because it does not fit on that trailer.
Of course not.
They've got this today because that's the first unit going up. It's a little bit challenging. I mean, what you don't get is that crane's probably, I don't know if it's fully extended or not, it does not look like it, but it goes up 200 feet. And we were battling the winds. The winds were picking up and it was getting a little challenging, moving it around. Because ultimately, you'll see ropes dangling from it. There's 1 or 2 guys that are trying to pull a 22,000 pounder around. Even though it's on a string, it's still, 22,000 pounds. You can see there's nothing left on the roof.
Mr. Walczak, I know I saw roofers that were there. What was their opinion after these the original air conditions were lifted?
We got to get a roof. We'll talk about that probably later. I do have a 10-year plan that does include a roof for 4601. It's beyond its useful life at this point. I mean, we'll patch around it, but the roof itself doesn't need to go.
Mr. Walczak.
Yes, sir.
Once the old ones were removed, what kind of preparation had to be made between that time and what we're watching now, the setting of the new ones?
Preparation-wise, just to set them, obviously, so the old ones go off. Where you see, myself and 5 other guys here, we're putting curbs on. There's a roofer to the left. He's going to start, doing that. We did have to do some. This one doesn't have the curb set. Curb is what the new unit sits on top of. We have ductwork that goes up in here, and you can see this little bit of black. Around here, you can see this all gets flashed in. This half is the return air, this is supply. We put, the curb in, go around it with the roofing material. I want to say we set the first unit somewhere around 4 o'clock today. So essentially it was all day, just getting those 2 curves up. Curbs, and this is news to everybody, I think, including back. That was the only part we had that made me a little bit nervous. They didn't show up till 10 o'clock today. So we were a little nervous about that. They're supposed to be on June 28th. They just showed up. So we had some interesting conversations. Any more neighbors said that it's always sunshine. But in short, the project's on time. We're planning on startup on the 23rd, which will be done by Windy City, who we're walking units from. Manufacturer will come out, they'll start them up, but that's slated for the 23rd. The 24th, 5th, and 6th is hopefully nothing. A few things we had inside the building that were more entertaining than anything. Everybody has seen those pictures we had on the walls. It's very warm in that building, so they all fell down. Nothing bad, it's just funny. It's like before we spent so much time, actually I think you worked with Doc, you did it together. I know they're all piled up on the floor. Everything's going on real good.
Mr. Walzak, if you could, at the Indiana, I know we're doing the air conditioning on the unit and we're doing the library, so where are we?
The library, as I said, Indiana is going a little bit slow because we did have some title issues. We hope to start working normally, if you will, on a normal schedule starting Friday. We don't expect to have an issue opening. The space will get a lot nicer than I think people realize. We took the front entrance out as best we could. It was always like walking into a cave when you walk in there. It was two crazy doors with that closet thing in the middle. That's all gone now. It's just all glass. Yeah, so it's going to look really, really nice.
And the SOC? Was just air conditioning?
SOC is just air conditioning. Last time I was in there, it was in but not started yet because the company comes out on the 24th and starts it. Painters are out there in the gyms. They painted Madison, I think. They were starting Arcadia yesterday, I think. So we're starting, to paint the gym. So that should take the gyms out of the equation. The other thing we really have left is the two libraries. Arcadia seems to be coming along good. I don't know if Ms. Peter's been in there, but
the Illinois is at a conference, Dr. Mays. But does she have anything to worry about?
No. No, not at all. Not at the gym. The gym is fine. Really just the North Gym and the Indiana Library, the thing, but I don't see that as being a true issue at this point. Concern, obviously, but not an issue.
Well, if any of the board members have technical questions, please feel free to answer them so you don't receive just a usual response from me.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I did want to point out that I did hear a 10-year plan from Mr. Walzak, so that means we'll have you for 10 more years? No. You keep trying, so I was hopeful.
Well, we're always 10 years ahead. Well,
no.
But we always sit on a 10-year plan. It's just that we have to pay attention to what our architects are telling us in terms of prioritizing the roofs, which is always an issue. The Huth is our oldest school. Everyone knows that, and because it is, remember in our what is our own boardroom, you see President Lincoln actually visited the Huth, but it was made of wood. And if you're inside of the Huth, whomever, I wasn't here at the time, but whoever decided to maintain that one stairway of the Huth made of wood, which is a little interesting, but it hasn't been a problem. But that's where the original archives were from the board that met in the 1870s. And those minutes were in German because this was a German town. And I think I shared with Craig, I'm not sure, but there was, we had them translated, and there was this discussion among the board members, only men, because remember, women did not have the right to vote yet. So only men could sit on a board. But there was a long, long argument that went on several board members about borrowing $500. So our original bond issue was for $500 in the 1870s, and I thought it was fascinating because that's something that we wouldn't even think about at this point. We've just put millions into the air conditioners, but it's fascinating that we're mandated by the state to keep the minutes of the board, but over the years you see the language change, which really meant that we were changing from a Polish farm community to a more urban community. But it's fascinating. When I first saw them, I didn't know what they said at that time, but it's fascinating. Thank you, Mr. Walczak. We appreciate it.
Always.
And this is the year of air conditioning, so if we have to spend time on anything, it's the air conditioning, because I do believe in climate change, and if it gets any warmer, we would be very uncomfortable. So we appreciate everything that you're doing. And so thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Staff development for the teachers for the new school year 24-25 has already begun, and teachers are coming in large numbers to participate. As a matter of fact, there is Mrs. Dusky, who is also on vacation, which I think is interesting. But anyway, there's a literacy meeting and staff development right here in this room, and we have 72 teachers that are signed up on the 4th and the 5th of August. So Mr. Walczak well knows, because he's been here for a while, that teachers will start getting anxious about accessing their buildings about August 1st. And I write to him because the union asked when we would be able to get in. Elementary teachers are very conservative. However, the way that their rooms look is extremely important to them, and so they will be looking to come in. An announcement to make. We all know Dr. Mabel Alford. Dr. Alford, and I'm looking at Dr. Mays and Dr. Hall and Mr. Peterson, only just singled them out because of the fact that she worked very closely with them, with Mrs. Houston and with Dr. Mays on our revision of how we grade children in terms of a standard-based approach. And Dr. May Alford has been with us for 2 years. You'll remember that she was superintendent of 159 and she retired. But on Saturday, she called me, and it was interesting because it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, what has happened? And there was an emergency in 160, and I'll tell you what happened. But Dr. Alford has agreed to be their interim superintendent. She has approved a contract, and their board will meet Thursday night. But that is a long story. But I'm mentioning her because I think we should give her a round of applause. I'm not sure that we would be where we are. What we know about Dr. Alford is that her expertise is really curriculum. It is curriculum. But now we hope she comes back, but you never know. Sometimes districts name interim superintendents, and they end up being the permanent superintendent in terms of the length of time. But she is starting immediately, and so we thank her. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Excuse me. Are there any questions for the superintendent on her report?
Mr. President, if I could. I didn't want to mention this before I gave my report because it's been a very emotional time for us. It was a bad day. It was a bad day. It was a real bad day. We received a call at 9:15 this morning that our athletic director, Homer Thomas, passed away unexpectedly. And Homer Thomas meant so much to us. Not only did he come to us when we opened Southland and we needed an athletic director. At that time, he was at Richards High School. But Mr. Thomas not only designed our athletic program at the high school level, he revived our athletic program at the middle school. but I don't know where he had the time to do it, but he also had a track and field program at the University of Chicago. He was a magnificent man. And so if we could have just a moment of silence as we observe his passing, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President. When we receive information, but we did send for his daughter. She was with some of our children in Wisconsin. We drove her back here so that the family could be together. But we are so appreciative of Homer Thomas. And just coincidentally, he was honored at our last athletic dinner. Sometimes things are meant to be, and that's the way I feel about Mr. Thomas. So thank you so much, Mr. President.
In addition to all that he did here, he also was a very avid billiards player. And I used to get reports of his billiards playing from a friend of mine that I went to school with. So he's just a great all-around guy, good guy. He'll really be missed. He has been missed.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Just adding to our comments about Coach Thomas. He's beloved in the Johnson household. We know him from the University of Chicago Track Club. I'm very grateful that 162 in Southland got the chance to give him his flowers while he was still with us, recognizing him at the Southland Track and Field Awards. His impact to the sport has been recognized by several Hall of Fames. The world-renowned University of Chicago Track Club includes a current Olympian and who's under his tutelage and under his coaching, and then all the Johnson babies ran for Coach Thomas, who we missed, and his legacy will continue. I'm very happy to hear that we've named the Athlete of the Year after him, and that will be present in Southland Wall of Fame. And I think that the successes that our young people continue to show, both in academics and athletics, really is fantastic and can be attributed a lot to Coach Thomas. So he'll be missed.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, you mentioned, Madam Superintendent, no legislation.
I'm sorry, no, sir.
Okay. The next is new business. Recognize Sandy.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Move to approve the employment contract with Anelia Gonzalez Castillo as assistant principal for the period July 8, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to recommend Mrs. Gonzalez without reservation. She is working on her doctorate degree and should finish in the fall of 2024. She has a certificate in change management and leadership from Harvard Business School. She has a Master of Arts in Education Leadership from Concordia University, a Bachelor of Arts and Language Arts and English Education from Northern Illinois University. But more than that, her resume includes experience as an assistant principal, experience as a curriculum director, and I will say my personal opinion of her when I interviewed her is that she's not only knowledgeable, she's energetic, but she will help Mrs. Hughes to move the college, the SOC forward in an energetic way. So it is without recommendation. She is with the rest of the group that is in Nashville. I'm not sure why, but I do want why Mrs. Hughes is here. But Dr. Mays is, and Dr. McGuire, you're not there. But that's where Mrs. Gonzalez is. She is a person that each time that you talk to her, you'll learn something new if your discussion topic is education. And so it is without reservation that I recommend her for assistant principal under Mrs. Hughes at the SOC.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Aye.
Mrs. McCray?
Aye.
Dr. Leatherwood?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchinson?
Aye.
The motion is approved. Another motion.
Move to approve the contract with Parent Square Incorporated for a new parent communication system.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I welcome Mr. Daniel Evans, Director of Technology. How are you, Mr. Evans?
Dr. Davis, good evening, board.
Good evening.
Dr. Davis a little while ago gave us a directive to come up with a new communication tool or messaging system that will give us greater visibility and management into some of the one-off apps that are used throughout the district. Some of those apps include Class Dojo, Remind Me app, our school messaging, our school messenger app, which is also used to send out our robocall messages. So as we looked at one of those, at that particular task to come up with what we needed to do, we analyzed it, and Eric White is actually really championing this particular project to see what we could do to consolidate and again have greater visibility in terms of communication between staff and parents, and then manageability of that. So Parent Square is one of those, is that new system that we're looking at that will allow us to communicate with our families and staff. But we're utilizing it, or our plan is to utilize it in a much different way. It'll allow us to send text messages and emails with embedded graphics and video, something that we cannot do today, but it will also tie into our SIS system, Power School, again, such that we can, it'll allow us to better manage staff, such that we don't have to manually move things between the two systems. It will automatically add staff or remove staff. So that is what Parent Square is. That is what Parent Square will do for us. It will give us greater visibility, greater management over those communication tools that we use between staff and parents. And so we need that insight to ensure everything that's going on in the district.
Mr. Evans, what is our time frame in terms of implementation?
It will definitely be ready to roll before school. We plan during Institute Day and during retreat to talk more about the nuances of it and how the teachers will interact with it. So we will be ready to go day one.
Thank you. Questions?
Any questions?
I have one question, just to be clear. I hear consolidate. So does that mean this replaces something we have, or this is an add-on to something we have?
It's going to replace. So we'll replace the Class Dojo, or Remind Me app, the School Messenger app. It will replace all of those, and it will allow us to seamlessly manage everything that I just mentioned into one platform.
So that will be the only platform we'll be using?
Yes, ma'am, for Parent Square, for all of those tools that I mentioned before, yes.
Mr. Evans, would it be possible to give the board a demonstration at the August meeting?
Sure.
Okay. So that we don't have to visualize how this works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, do you have a question?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Demonstration is always necessary with new technology. It helps them being realized. And along those lines, if perhaps we could talk about whether there's a revisiting of, or we could refresh yourself on the types of communications. So now it's consolidated and it's utilizing multiple medias that you're going to demonstrate. We can talk about the kinds of messages that will go out through it and how that differs from maybe what we did in the past.
Absolutely. So In the past, one of the things that we struggled with was sending, Dr. Davis likes to do things like videos all the time, right? So now we can embed those video messages from her inside of a text message or an email and send it directly to staff. Automatically sending it to our YouTube channels, again, automatically posting on our website. So that integration is something that we're missing, and that will allow us better control to be able to do those type of things.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, I think this is great in terms of streamlining communication. One of the things that, like for example, the Band app that allows us to communicate and text the teacher in real time, can we still do that with this?
Yes, we'll be able to do that with this as well.
Okay.
And then the key point that we really need to be able to see is that we have to keep in mind that whatever that goes on throughout the district, management and visibility has to happen from the district office. So we have to know when staff is communicating with parents and what that communication is, such that if there's anything, not to say that there ever would be, but anything that's off, we need to be able to get to that information and know what's going on.
That's awesome. And then could you talk a little bit about privacy, like data privacy? Because people
So all of the applications that we utilize, they have to adhere to strict guidelines and laws about student privacy. So they go through a particular committee that we have at SOPA, they vet them. There has to be, like, mangle the term, but I think it's DPAs that have to be on file with the district. So as long as that's there, we're allowed to utilize them. In that information, it stipulates exactly what they're allowed to do with the data and what they can and cannot do with the data. And that's all vetted already.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Could you say something about who's going to directly supervise the Parent Square?
So the IT department.
The IT, okay.
Yes, and then individual controls will also be placed at the building level, building administrators, so they will also have visibility into it as well. But the IT department will set it up, roll it out, and be the overseers of it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. No further questions. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hutchinson?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Leatherwood?
Aye.
Mrs. McCray?
Aye.
Mrs. Gordon?
Aye.
Mr. Bean?
Aye. There's another motion.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Move to approve the contract for fair construction for the removal and replacement of stair treads in the amount of $19,190.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. President, that's the main stairwell in our district office, and we will replace it again and again because we have young people that jump on it continually. And so this is the first replacement, and actually it's lasted 10 years, so we only have to replace it every 10 years. But it's begging for attention, and we want to do that prior to opening
give
the
it the
school.
attention it's begging for.
Yes, it is.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean?
Aye.
Mrs. Gordon?
Aye.
Mrs. McCray?
Aye.
Dr. Leatherwood?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchinson?
Aye.
Okay. We have another motion, approve an intergovernmental agreement.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Move to approve the intergovernmental agreements with Atwood Heights School District number 125 in Elsip, Hazel Green and Oak Lawn School District 126, Chicago Ridge School District number 127.5, Community Consolidated School District number 146, Park Forest, Chicago Heights School District number 163, and Southland College Prep Charter High School for use of the District 162 Commissary Kitchen for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. We're sitting in what was a skating rink, but it was always our intention to turn this into a commercial kitchen. Our goals are very simple. We want quality food for all of our children. We did come to the board and share this concept many, many times. I don't think I realized, Mr. Wozak, how beautiful the kitchen would look, the facility, those board members that want to look at the storage that we have. But when we created this, Mr. England came up with the idea of sharing this, and not only the wisdom, but what about the good food of other districts that the children live in the South Suburban area. So I'm sure he has comments. This was an interesting concept, and sometimes when you present something to the state board, there's a little bit of hesitancy. So he may go into that as he talks about this process. Good evening, Mr. England.
Dr. Davis, good evening, members of the board.
Good evening.
I'm going to share with you a little bit of history and just go back, like Dr. Davis said, talk a little bit about how we got here. And please, the board, I'd like to address both the motion that's on the table as well as the one that's after that, because they really do go together. Okay. So, So, leading up to this, and really leading up to about 2020, 2021, we had a challenge. That was that in District 162, there really were not kitchen facilities that allowed the food to be made from scratch locally. And in addition to that, in the state of Illinois, you had to go with the lowest bid in terms of price. That was the only consideration in terms of school lunch if you wanted to participate in the federal school lunch program. And so we've always had the desire to obviously increase the quality of the food and still do it at a reasonable cost. So the solution of several things came together at one time. One was that the state board now allows for the request for proposal process, which means that price has to be your main consideration, but not the only consideration. You can consider other things. So that came to light. We have the opportunity to renovate this building here and make it into a kitchen that accomplishes the goals of having that high quality food. But we still had the issue of that's a very expensive endeavor. And so as we looked across the South Suburbs, many other districts were in the same position. And so we talked about could we partner with those districts, allow them to use the facility for a cost, and then that way that would defray and offset the cost for District 162. So again, our goals, very high quality student meals made locally and increase student participation, and still do it in a cost-effective manner. So we reached out to several South Suburban districts. We actually obtained a list from the State Board of Education of all the South Suburban districts that were up for a bid or request for proposal for the upcoming year. Reached out to them, had discussions with several. Not all of them were a good fit. Some of them had facilities. Some of them did participate in National School Lunch Program. Some of them had a different idea in terms of what their particular goals were, et cetera. And we also wanted to keep the volume around 10,000 meals per day. The kitchen was originally designed to be about 10,000 meals per day, and so we didn't want to obviously exceed that capacity, but we wanted to maximize it as well. So if I go back to Mr. Barrett, those districts, which is what you just read in the motion, those became the final 6 partner districts. Based on participation right now, we estimate about 11,000 meals per day with all of those districts together. Okay, so as I mentioned, the partner districts, they share, and this is what the intergovernmental agreements are all about, they share the operating cost of the facility proportionate to their usage. So if you read through the intergovernmental agreement, what you'll see is that it's between District 162 and each of those districts individually. And that is for the facility cost. That is not food. So I just want to clarify, they are not buying food from District 162. This is to share in the cost of operating the facility. The partner districts will pay District 162 22 cents a meal, which is about roughly $300,000 annually. Of course, that will be just an estimate at this point because we won't know the exact number until we close out the year. And then we'll reconcile those costs at the end of the year so everyone's paying for a share. So that was step 1. Step 2 is then to identify who is the company that's going to come in here and provide the meals that we really want to feed to the students. So we're looking for high quality meals, locally sourced as much as possible, really good high quality food. And so we had to identify a company that was going to come in, use the District 162 commissary kitchen. They employ their own personnel, managers, chefs, cooks, dishwashers, drivers, all of them. They do not replace the staff in District 162 school. We will still continue to have those staff working with us. They're providing the food service helping with the management, helping with a lot of reports that we have to prepare with the State Board of Education, etc. And so the other thing I do want to point out is there's one company here, and we have the partner districts, but each district has their own contract with that company. So the contract you'll see on the agenda, which is the next item down that you haven't gotten to yet, that's actually an individual contract between District 162 and the recommended vendor. So the selection process, as Dr. Davis alluded to, was an interesting one. This was a different kind of concept for ISME. It took quite a bit of time to get through them. For those who don't know, the National School Lunch vendor selection process is highly regulated by the Illinois State Board of Education. They are involved every step of the way. We send them the draft specs for the proposals. They approve those before they can ever go out. Any amendments they have to approve before they go out. The recommended award has to be approved before we can bring it to the board for award. So we started that process back in the fall of 2023. RFPs, or requests for proposals, were sent to 18 companies back in April. 8 responded and participated in taste testings here in this room. We had, I want to say, at least 20 folks here taste testing the food and rating them. And of those 8 companies, 4 ultimately submitted proposals. The 4 companies that submitted proposals were Just a Dash, Quest, Organic Life, and Whitson's Culinary Group. And I mentioned before about how the request for proposal process is a little different than just taking a low bid. It's a 100-point rubric, essentially. And it's defined ahead of time. All the vendors know what that rubric looks like. 35%, or 35 points, is based on price, 25 on taste, and then there were 10 other parameters that made up 40 additional points that went into that. So after all of that process, we went through, we vetted all of the various proposals, assigned them all the numbers and the rankings, and we came up with one contract to be proposed and approved by the board, and that is with Whitson's Culinary Group. And we do have members of Whitson's here tonight. We'll be asking them to stand up in a few minutes here and talk a little bit about them. But I want to talk a little bit about cost, just so you have a perspective on that before we get into the actual food itself. So the other benefit of I guess, pooling everything with other districts and increasing volume is we can get a lower price. And so currently District 162 is paying $2.05 for breakfast. The proposed price is $1.85. There is a slight typo in your memo. $1.85 is the correct amount for breakfast. Lunch drops from $3 a meal, which actually is very cheap right now. We had a really good price for Quest this past year. That's actually going to drop from there down to $2.56.
Right.
So we're actually projecting just for the 24-25 year, just for food cost alone, the district should save about $180,000. Prior to the kitchen partnership, or before the kitchen was open, we had the partnerships and all that. The district was subsidizing the food service program about $200,000 a year. So when you took out the reimbursements from the state of Illinois, from the federal school lunch program, back when there was a charge to students also in addition to that for food, and you backed all that out, typically in most years the district was actually adding an additional $200,000 to make that program whole. With the new pricing and the partnership, we now project that this will actually be a break-even endeavor. There won't be any more subsidization, if I can say that word, into the food service program. And students will continue to eat for free in District 162. That will not change.
Wonderful.
Are there any questions before I ask members of Whitson's to come up and introduce themselves? Yeah.
Just a question. I think I heard you say this, but the actual delivery of the meals will be the responsibility of Winston's. They have the trucks, and they will be responsible for each school receiving the meals.
That's correct. They'll be responsible for maintaining the trucks, keeping the food warm in the trucks, temping the food when it gets to the destination to make sure it didn't lose temperature. They're in charge of the entire delivery process.
Will those trucks be maintained on our property, or they will be somewhere else?
They will be here on our property, just as they were when Quest was here.
I had a question.
I'm sorry.
Just a question about, so we will no longer subsidize the food service program. We'll break even, which I think is great. Do you project us ever coming to a place where we'll do more than break even, but actually make a revenue?
It's possible. A lot of this is projections because we don't know. For example, we're projecting what are the utility costs going to be when we ramp up to 11,000 meals a day. So we're making some assumptions about that, et cetera. In the National School Lunch Program, you actually can't make a profit. There are some exceptions to that rule. So you can have some revenue in it over your expenditures or better revenue than your expenditures. But again, it's limited and limited to some few exceptions. So, yeah.
I did ask a question today of Whitson, and that is, we were given a number, a projection from Quest of 22,000 meals that we were able to function here. Remember, right behind us is what we were going to do, make a soup kitchen. And Quest, who was the vendor at the time, advised Mr. Walczak not to create that. So that is available for expansion. But the question that I asked them not to be answered tonight, but to be answered after they make this facility their own, is our number 11,000, is it 15,000, is it 20,000, which would answer that question. We don't know, because we do know that easily we can do the 11,000, but they would have to tell us somewhere in the early spring if we were going to expand. I know that Mr. Englert has had districts to contact him. I've had 3 superintendents to just stop in to Camp Davis today to mention, ask, is it too late for us to be absorbed into the bid? The answer it is too late. Because it will be finalized tonight one way or the other based on the will of the board. But I don't know whether or not we have peaked or whether or not if we decide to make we don't have to call it a soup kitchen, but to expand our kitchen, is our number correct, or are we looking at the 22,000? I'll be interested to find that out.
Mr. President, I just have one more question about the bond, the process of paying the debt for the bond. Is there a deadline that we're expected to pay the bond? Like, is there a time frame for paying the bond back?
The bonds on the renovation of this building?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's already begun. It's a 20-year bond, and that's actually factored into these amounts that I gave you here.
Okay.
So, and it's paid annually.
Okay.
Actually, semi-annually.
Thank you.
I have a question about, Mr. President, question about other things, other food service that can be provided under this contract. Will catering for the additional catering for the district in Southland, are those included, or how might those be included as part of what's this contract and what's being produced here?
Yeah, catering can be provided, and I'll let Whitson speak a little more to that because we've had a lot of discussions with them about that. So when you think of things like opening day, as Dr. Davis mentioned, when all the teachers come back, traditionally we provide meals for them. Professional development activities, there's food for that typically. So yeah, we plan to utilize that, or utilize Whitson's for that as well.
Very good, thank you.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean?
Aye.
Mrs. Gordon?
Aye.
Mrs. McCray?
Aye.
Dr. Leatherwood?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchinson?
Aye.
Craig, you're to be congratulated on the job that you've done in putting this together.
Yes.
I've seen the reports and heard the reports that you made. It's very complex, but you've done, as usual, a very excellent job benefiting the district. And I congratulate you and thank you for that.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. President, could we allow Whitson to address us in their own way, and welcome to the 162 Southland family?
For my team to get up here. We're busy back in the kitchen, by the way, so...
Well, that's a good thing. One of the things that we did not share with the board is we will see what kind of food that will be served to the children at the conclusion of the meeting. So, welcome.
I'm sorry, Dr. Davis, did you say see what kind of food?
Taste. Well, we will taste and eat whatever food.
All the senses then.
We're going to do a catering event for you tonight. So.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Davis and members of the Board of Education.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jerry Dickman. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Whitson's Culinary Group. We're excited to be here to share some of the key differentiators with our program to benefit the students of Madison School District 162. With me tonight, can you go back up to the top? Second, there you go. With me tonight is David Murphy. David is a district manager of operations for Whitson, and he is an executive chef. Jennifer Malchow is district manager of operations with us, and she is a registered dietitian. Jada Ludebach is a district manager of operations and will be responsible and be placed here at Madison School District 162. So her key functionality will be to run District 162, supported by Jennifer and David. In the back, we have Tony DeStefano. He's an executive chef, and he's a director of strategic operations. In our kitchen, we have approximately 7 other people that are back there getting ready to walk you through some of our program. So, go ahead. So about us, Whitson Culinary Group, we're the 15th largest food service management company in the country. So we're the 5th largest food service company that provides food service for children in the United States. So been around for 45 years. Since 1979, we are a family-operated and a minority-owned company. And we are a part of the MNSTC organization. We are certified. Next. So the 3 pillars of our organization are really centered around food, family, and service. Instead of talking about this, I'm going to have a video played. Talk a little about the Whitson's Way. He's actually going to be the district manager in charge of the transition. Talk a little bit about the food, and then we'll turn it over to Jen.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. Good evening, everybody.
Good
My name is David.
evening.
Whitson's focused on Whitson's committed and focused on providing wholesome, high-quality meals prepared from clean, organic material. Sorry, I apologize. Whitson's is committed to providing wholesome, high-quality menus prepared fresh from clean, organic foods, non-GMO, and locally sourced when possible. Our goal of Whitson's overall is to provide high-quality meals to all our students every single day. Attached here, you see some of our relational chart. As you're introduced tonight with Jada, Jen, and myself, this is the Whitson's management team, starting with Paul Whitcomb, CEO, David DeSenza, Jerry, myself, Craig Whitcomb, our vice president, and Jennifer Malchow. Signature series, as you're going to see tonight as you walk through the kitchen enjoying our food, so please come hungry. You're going to see a lot of our marketing materials that are presented. A lot of the materials will be in schools, on websites, also handouts to students and parents to engage them fully and consistently. We're making sure that kids feel welcome each day and are educated while they have meals with us.
Yeah, I'm going to jump right in here. I want to talk about just engaging promotions. We want to make sure that the students are excited about what they get. So we like to do promotions so that they can connect with the food. For example, like Harvest of the Month. We have a nutritional piece to it. We have a display of the food so that they can see it, and we feature the food so that they can taste it. Next slide, please. Also, the fun part is our pop-up shops. So we actually won the 2022 Food Management Best Concept Award in the K-12 Marketplace with this. Now, you are going to get to see some of our features with the pop-up shops today. So I'm really excited that you could see that. This really gets the students to try new foods. The students, it increases engagement, and it's like I've never seen before the 20 years in food service that I've been, K-12 food service. And we have a little video for you on this.
Excellent.
It tastes like 1 minute. It tastes like a Popeye It kind of has like a spice to it.
Great.
Okay. We got like a taste of everything. And like I don't really like coleslaw, but it was good.
In addition to that, we also have surveys twice a year, and that helps us learn what the students like and get their preferences. So we listen and we hear them. Next slide, please. Also, I just want to touch base on our communication tools and technology. So there's lots of different communication tools, like our monthly client reports, our Simply Rooted magazine, which is also around the table, our monthly newsletters, and our Cafe Connections, but I do want to feature our FD meal planner. If you can go to that website, so you can see what our menus look like online. So this is an example of Yorkville. This is June, so I know there's not much on there, but when you click on the individual items, you can see the information on that particular entree. For example, the nutritionals, ingredient statements, allergens, so that the parents are informed and they know what their students are getting. And there's also information on here where you can, you scroll down, you can see all the different communications on there for you to see around the table for the parents to see. And there's also a way to change the language on the menu, so it could be in any language. That's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Not so much a question, but I'd love the idea of the pop-up shop. Children just in general like something different, and to allow them to participate I think is wonderful. I love also the twice-a-year surveys that you're going to use, and I suggest to the principals and Mr. England, if you could, because most of them are not here, if they could share this with the PTSO so the parents understand that they can click on a chicken nugget or whatever and find out how healthy it is, et cetera. So we could share that when we during retreat, then that would be a wonderful thing. Another idea, could we have really, I guess I'm asking David, a representative for Whitson during our retreat. You'll be here, I hope, because we're getting ready to.
Yes.
Okay. But we'll be here in this room, and if the principals definitely, absolutely knew all of the communication tools, and they've really never met the management of our food service company. So that would be a wonderful thing for us, and you wouldn't have to go anywhere.
Should we bring the bike and have them do the smoothies?
Well, I don't think we need to ride the bike, but we like smoothies.
Mr. President, thank you for the presentation. And so one of the main things about food is presentation. And so what we saw in the video was an amazing looking presentation. Can you talk to me a little bit about how it will be presented at our elementary schools and our high schools? How will you all, I'm getting a picture of what you all will control here in this building, and then how will you extend that all the way through to the amazing chef who's do flipping things and then display signs and so forth? We know we have our own staff at the school. How is that part going to, how is that part going to be managed and controlled?
Great question. Appreciate that. Our goal is, as we roll out the school year, our team is going to go out to the various districts and help coach the staff on site how to do proper presentation and display food, and how to serve it to make sure it looks beautiful for every meal period, and also educate them on how we like things presented. So our goal is throughout the school year is to visit all the different districts we are managing and help coach and train the staff and engage them. The chef that we have here on site as well, he or she will travel to the different districts to help coach and train staff as well, to help elevate the food in the presentation.
Okay, very good. Just if I could, extending on that, obviously we're welcoming you here to our facility, and we're excited about that, and that you're going to be servicing our school district, but also what we talked about is the fact that we're excited that we're partnering with, if my math is right, Greg, 4 other districts, 6 plus 162 and Southland, for a total of 8.
5 plus 162 and Southland.
Yeah, so those 5, you could speak a little bit to, how we'll get to have all that amazing we just saw for us and stay at that high level of quality while you're serving the other 5 school districts and satisfying them as well.
It's really built upon the foundation that all achieve that goal. Every district is going to achieve that goal, and it's going to achieve that through training, the menuing that we do, but really being on site, being out in the field. So you will notice when we open the facility here that we will have people out in the field actually working with the food service employees of District 162 to help them with those techniques. We will have specific training. We're going to show them, what the expectation is, and work with Craig and the staff to accomplish that goal. So
Yes.
It's really a partnership between.
And what I'm speaking to is also plus the other 5 school districts. And so the same staff that you put on your org chart originally is servicing us plus all the other 5 school districts and executing.
I believe we're going to have a total of about 18 people in this facility producing the meals and out in the field. So we've staffed it accordingly, and we shouldn't have any issue doing that. Good.
Also, sir, I'm visiting on a weekly basis all the different business managers for all the school districts we're also servicing with this contract. So I'm in developing relationships and constant contact with everybody and helping them and showing them what our plans are and answering any questions they have to make sure they're successful as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Just a comment on that wonderful chef that we saw doing all kinds of. So he is in the back, and he is a working chef. He's not just for this presentation. So, and he does have that same energy and enthusiasm, and we hope that this translates to our schools also. Mrs. McCray, I think you were going to say.
Discussion, but the longer we discuss this, the further it takes to get back there. And
well, I'll make my question quick then. Well, I just want to ask, as you collaborate with individuals, not only at 162, but across these other districts, how much of that is going to be a conversation as opposed to coming in and then teaching, right, the practice of presenting, food the way that you want it to be presented as opposed to, tapping into the expertise of the individuals who've been inundating those spaces for multiple years? So is that a conversation or is it a top-down thing?
It's always a conversation. It's always a conversation of coaching and training and asking them how do they do their service program, what works for them, what does not work for them. All because I suggest something does not mean it's the perfect way to serve. As always, we want to make things food safe. Food safety is the paramount, of our business. But if they have a different service style or way they serve students, we'll work with the district. Currently, I'm working with the other 5 districts, and we're having a lot of discussions around their service, how they serve students, their scheduling. So yes, we're very flexible, and we're open to dialogue both directions.
Yeah, I understand that there would be a standard across the board, but I just wonder, and I hope for a conversation with with these other folks who are stakeholders in this process.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much.
In fact, during the process, we actually toured all the locations. We touched every school district that was part of the RFP process.
Okay.
And actually and toured with their administration and walked around to different buildings. So we spent about a week and a half here down this, the south side campus. So
thank you.
Okay, I just had one question before the motion. Do you have another kitchen in our general area of, let's say, Illinois, to broaden the space that you're providing this service? You do this kitchen, and our school districts here, are you providing this exact type of service somewhere else?
So this is really a new model as it relates to school food service within the industry. This is really the first type of first school district that's ever built a facility this beautiful to do something
We're unique,
like this.
Mrs.
Very
McCray,
unique.
unto ourselves. That was one of the issues that we had with the state board.
And we do have other contracts in the state of Illinois. We have East Aurora. We have Yorkville, so that we just picked up. We actually have a plant here in Berkeley, Illinois, where we actually can produce food as well. So we're very knowledgeable of the expectations that need to be accomplished here at District 162.
Sure, but building off of Ms. McCray's question, Could you talked about the size of the amount that you already currently have under contract, the volume that you produce. Could you maybe just tell us where those are and what those kind of describe how those compare to the kitchen you'll be working out of here?
So for instance, Yorkville is 7,000 students, so it's a similar type of contract. We operate 200 school districts throughout the United States, that all the way from Philadelphia Public Schools to smaller school districts around the country. So this is not. It's a monumental task, but it's not when you're familiar with the business model itself.
And you run them out of what kind of facilities?
Every school district. Typically, each school district has their own facility that we operate out of as a food service management contracting company. So we are a guest here in your facility. We're a guest in their facilities as well. So.
Thank you.
Just to be quite honest, I'm not aware of any other school district in our state that has this kind of model, and we did build a much larger, more sophisticated kitchen. Now, most of our high schools do have kitchens because they serve that kind of food, but that doesn't mean that they have a state-of-the-art kitchen. And so, but the combination of districts and the sophistication and the way that we organized our kitchen is not something that exists currently in our state.
Very good.
But we knew that in the beginning.
Roll call, please.
We haven't had the motion.
We haven't entertained motion number 6, Mr. President. Motion number 5.
We ready? Ready?
Number 5.
Okay. Move to approve the ratification of the one-year contract with options to renew for up to 4 additional years with Woodson's Nutrition LLC for food service management company services beginning August 1st, 2024.
Second.
This is moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hutchinson?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Leatherwood?
Aye.
Mrs. McCray?
Aye.
Mrs. Gordon? Aye. Mr. Bean?
Aye. Okay. That concludes the business section. Is there any old business?
No, sir.
Okay. Any board member issues? The next item on the agenda is audience to visitors. Is there any member of the audience who care to address the board on any matter whatsoever? Yes.
Hello, board and everyone here.
How you doing?
All right, my name is Randy Thames. I'm here with my wife, Michelle Thames, and my daughter, Riley Thames. We are residents of Richland Park. Homeowners, Riley is a 5th grader. We are a Sauk Elementary family, so big shout out to Dr. Morgan and Mrs. Hughes, and big thank you, Dr. Morgan, congratulations. So we had a great first year. She was a 5th grader now, so she had 4th grade there. We are here tonight to get clarity or try to get some understanding on Riley is a very talented student. We're very serious about education. We're also very serious about athletics, and she is an exceptional athlete, nationally recognized basketball player. She has a brand online. She works very hard, and we are asking the district to see can she have the opportunity to try out for Huth Elementary as a 5th grader. We checked with the IESA, and that's legal, but we don't know how it works as far as being a Sauk student and participating at Huth. But it would be a big deal for her future, as for the community, and for her as an athlete, a student athlete primarily, as a woman athlete as well. So to start that process, we played in park districts all around. Her talent exceeds a lot of the areas. So we definitely are looking for that next challenge, and participating in youth elementary basketball is the next step to seeing how it operates and how the game of basketball is played. We've been approached by a lot of private schools that have an academic or athletic plan for her future. We've entertained those, but we are a Richland Park family. We are invested in this community. I'm a part of the Human Relations Committee. I'm a part of the PTO. We run a digital marketing agency. I'm a former teacher. So like I said, we're very big on academics and athletics. So we want to request that. We don't know the protocol. I know students that go to Illinois can participate at Hoof. So I don't know, and those students are the same age. So if there's an issue with transportation, if there's an issue with coaching, anything, as a family, we're open. I'm a 20-year basketball coach. Like I said, I've trained her, and I have seen nothing like her in my 20 years at this age. So that's kind of where we're at.
Mr. President, our athletic director is actually at the Wisconsin Dells with the cheerleaders. If I can get phone numbers, et cetera, then we can all sit down and talk about this and see if this is possible. To be honest, we've never had a child that young, but that doesn't mean that we can't. But let's let him come home tomorrow, and then after that we can arrange a meeting so that we can talk about this. But it does intrigue me, and let's see what we can do with it. Okay. So I will certainly assume responsibility.
And we appreciate you coming to us and asking for this, because if there's a way to enhance our teams, and if she can do that.
Yeah. And I'm willing to help out if the program needs any help, if they need a coach, if they need an assistant, anything like that. I'm willing to. I'm helping young ladies actually in the community. There's another girl in her class, a 5th grader, that is almost 6 feet tall. She's learning the game. She comes over our house all the time. So the community has a base where we can really excel in athletics over the next 4 years, given the opportunity.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And Dr. Davis will follow up with your request.
Mrs. Hughes, can we make sure I have all the numbers? And he will return tomorrow. His name is Justin Johnson, but we'll all meet.
Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your summer. Are there any other members of the audience who care to volunteer their 5th grader to play on our teams? We're looking for a 6-footer. Hearing none, the next item on the agenda is a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Move that the board go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, or dismissal of employees, 5 ILCS 120/2C1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean?
Aye.
Mrs. Gordon?
Aye.
Mrs. McCray?
Aye.
Dr. Leatherwood?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchinson?
Aye.
Okay, if you all will retire to the other portion of this facility, we'll have
Right, but if they can retire, we actually do have, because this is a multi-dimensional facility, we will go into executive session. They'll come back with their food if they want to hear us vote, and then you will go and get whatever it is you want to look at, eat, or whatever, and we will come back and vote. But we do have an executive session room at the back. Okay. We invite you to go and to eat, and we will join you. This is a very short executive session, and just 10 minutes, we hope. Mr. Englert, could you host us while we go into the executive session? No, go get them started. Okay. Directly back, we've got a room.
We're moving. We're moving, apparently.
Okay. I'll have to come back. Come back inside. How are you doing?